Mark 8:36. For what shall it profit a man, if he shall gain the whole world, and lose his own soul? Believe it or not, the concept of selling one's soul to Satan or to the world is real. Often it's heard of celebrities or wealthy people who sold their souls to reach the heights they have reached. Sure, the money and fame is nice and appealing to people for carnal reasons. However, I got to thinking, why would someone do this if they knew where they were going to end up after it's all said and done? Isn't heaven more desirable than hell? Well, you'd think so. However, some people still choose to entertain or risk hell for personal gain. I've thought of a few reasons. The first reason I can think of is a desire to succeed. Satan in 2 Corinthians chapter 4 verse 4 is described as the god of this world. He has authority and power to make offers such as fame and wealth and, offering success of all kinds. When he tempted Jesus in the wilderness, he promised him all the kingdoms of the world if he would just bow and worship him. Now, this isn't a bluff, mind you. He could actually have done that. He had the authority and the power according to the word. Making grand offers is tempting to some people. However, a lot of famous and wealthy people I've seen aren't the happiest. Sure, they may be happy at first, and then they might find some happiness down the line, but when it comes to Satan's gifts, that happiness is hollow like those gifts. It's carnal, fleshly, not spiritual or godly. It doesn't last. No one who lives a life without God can ever find true joy. Joy is something eternal, something that will endure until the end. A person of God, I heard, said that in the spirits of all people there is a hole that nothing in the world can truly fill. No riches or status or any kinds of pleasures. Nothing except God. People have this void and seek to fill it. Some people created false beliefs and religions to serve something. Others spend their whole lives seeking other pleasures and in life to fill that void. It is in humanity's nature to serve a God. That is why God made the hole in the spirit. However, people not seeking God are liable to serve dead and empty gods that don't care for them and won't protect them from damnation. A final reason that I can think of why someone would sell their soul is that some people only really care about this life and not about the life that is to come. Some people love the world. It's all they have ever known and all they really care to have. They love it so much that taking the gifts of Satan to make it big in this life is simply an offer they can't refuse. The Bible says in 1 John chapter 2 verses 15 through 17, it says, "Love not the world, neither the things that are of this world. If any man love the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh, and the lust of the eyes, and the pride of life, is not of the Father, but is of the world. And the world passeth away, and the lust thereof. But he that doeth the will of God abideth forever." I talked to a person during my high school years. I taught them about the Word and the way to salvation, which is through the message of Acts 2:38. I also told him of the events that are to come. The times we're living in and all the signs we're getting are all pointing that we are in the end times. And the book of Revelations show us that the world isn't going to get better, guys. It's going to actually get worse. 2020 was a prelude of what is to come. And spoilers, what's next isn't going to be pretty. The end is coming. It's not something people like to hear, but it's something they need to hear. And I told some people who I once shared this info with that they need not perish with the world. You might think of the story of Noah's Ark. Now, Noah preached for years and told people to get on the ark, and no one except his family did. Our days are like Noah's and worse in many ways. I told this person everything, but they didn't want to change. They didn't want to because they loved the world, and loving God isn't something they really cared or desired to do. The love of the Father was not in him, as according to the scriptures would say. And honestly, it's a shame, because the world doesn't love them. The world doesn't love anyone. Satan rules this world and its kingdoms are under his influence. He hates everyone and wants everyone to go to hell. You know, in the Bible it says a young rich man came to Jesus and asked him what he needed to do in order to be saved. He told Jesus that he kept the laws of God since his youth and obeyed them. Yet when Jesus said, "Give away his possession," and to follow him, that rich young man went away sadly. Because he had great possessions, it says. Some people put a lot of stock in this life. To some, it's all they ever known, and all they ever care to know. Yet when they die, all that material treasure won't follow them anywhere. They will find themselves broke when they come to meet God because they rather store their treasure in this world rather than heaven. In the book of Matthew, chapter 6, verses 19 to 21, it says, "Do not store up for yourselves treasures on earth, where moths and vermin destroy and where thieves break in and steal. But store up treasures for yourselves in heaven, where moths and vermin do not destroy, and where thieves do not break in and steal. For where your treasure is, there your heart will also be." This world, this life isn't going to last. Look at eternity. Look at what is going to happen after death. Meeting God and being judged to either eternal joy in heaven or eternal torment in hell. This is the certainty that all people are guaranteed after death. That is forever. This life, when you really look at it, is a speck in eternity. 100 years of life, living well thanks to ungodliness, won't seem worth it in hell, where eternal suffering will be with no end and no rest. I'm telling you this because nothing gained in this life is worth losing your soul over. Don't give or sell your soul to what this life offers. The world grows wicked day by day, more and more depraved as well. It is going to fade away soon, and Jesus, God, will make a new one. One where there is no suffering, no death, no famine, no plagues, no sorrow, no misery and no sin. A place where joy and peace will reign and the misery of this life will be forgotten. I told a person this, and they still said they preferred this sinful world over that great promise. Honestly, I kind of felt sad for him. I still do. The Father is not in those who think like that, and their hearts truly belong to Satan, who is the God of this world. Please don't lose your souls to the ungodly things this life offers you. You might think, why live for God? What will it give me? Well, Satan offers things our flesh wants: fame, worldly success, wealth, pleasure. But these things lose their luster. Some famous people aren't happy and turn to drugs or alcohol or die miserable trying to fill that void, that emptiness I mentioned earlier that only God can fill. I think of Elvis, to be honest, when I think of that. Someone who was so big and famous and just died sad and alone and broken. And there are many examples of that in the history of this world. And it's just sad. But that's the way of this world. On the other hand, God gives a man what their spirit and souls need. To live a righteous, virtuous life is the most joyful experience ever. A life dedicated to Jesus is the greatest life a person can live. Let me tell you a little bit about myself. When I was a kid, I got anything I ever wanted. I was an only child and got showered and a lot of material stuff, and I was very blessed. My family was well off. Yet there was something in me always lacking, always empty. I had friends. At one point I was popular, I think during middle school. I had everything, and yet I wasn't happy. It was nice at first, but I would always end up unsatisfied. I then turned my life around and started serving Jesus. The happiest I ever was in my life was when I went to South America, to my family's home country of Nicaragua back in 2015. I spent 2 weeks living in a poor, rundown home, comparable to a shack. I had no technology, no entertainment, no air conditioning. For the constant humidity and the heat, nothing but my Bible and my friend Jesus. I talked and laughed and spent time with God, and that was the greatest time in my life. I didn't feel lonely despite being away from home and having no friends there. My void was filled, and I was satisfied. Living for God brought in a warmth and love to my heart that all people should feel, but won't, and will go through their entire lives not feeling, and that is the greatest tragedy. Look, I know it can be scary, letting go of what we're comfortable with. Living a life for God will require change, and us humans, not a lot of us are good with change. We don't want to let go of maybe the bad influences of some friends, of old habits that probably aren't godly. I get that. Letting go of what we're comfortable with is just not something that's easy. And I've known a lot of people who were interested in God, but when it came, like the rich young man, they just couldn't do it because they had so much stock, so much in the world that they didn't want to let go of. Again, this world is all some people have ever known. But let me tell you that there is a far greater one. One that will surpass your wildest expectations. I mean that. Whatever happiness you think you have in this world is nothing compared to what God could give you. The pleasures and happiness that this world can offer, well, what this world can offer will pale in comparison to what Jesus gives. It takes courage to put down the treasures you've kept in this world and to take the hand of Jesus and what he's offering, but I guarantee you, it will be the greatest choice you ever made. That's all I have to say. My name is Edwin de Jesus, and God bless you all.